Welcome to another deep dive, listeners. This time, we're taking you to Osten Ard, the world of Tad Williams' The Dragonbone Chair.
Oh, a fantastic choice.
It is, and we'll be exploring how a simple kitchen boy named Simon rises to confront a corrupt king, a shadowy priest, and even an undead storm king. Talk about pressure, right?
You said it. It all starts with a Death King Prester Johns.
Ah, King Prester John, beloved ruler, eh?
Indeed. And when he dies, Osten Ard is left vulnerable. You can practically feel the power vacuum opening up, the ambition swirling.
Yeah, it's like watching a pot about to boil over. And right in the middle of all this, we meet Simon,
A mischievous kitchen boy at the Hayholt,
oblivious to the political storm. Right? He'd rather be with Dr. Morjani's nose deep in a book.
lost in stories of heroes and quests. Makes you wonder if those stories planted a seed in him, waiting for the right moment to sprout.
You think so? Like those stories somehow prepared him for what's to come.
It's certainly an intriguing thought.
It is, but while Simon's daydreaming, there are some pretty dark things happening in the castle.
There's a sharp contrast, between Simon's simple life and the shadowy events going on around him.
Right. And then he stumbles upon this secret passage.
And witnesses something that shatters his innocence. The ritualistic murder of the Lord Constable by Prierates.
Oh yeah, Prierates. Just thinking about him gives me the creeps.
He radiates power, but a very unsettling kind. It's almost tangible, the aura surrounding him.
And you realize quickly that this murder isn't random, right? It's all tied to the power struggle for the throne. King John had two sons, Elias and Josua.
Even before his death, John worried about Elias's ambition.
Oh yeah. You get a sense of that from his conversation with Towser, the jester.
Precisely. And that ambition becomes crystal clear when Elias becomes king. You see Prierates whispering in his ear, manipulating him.
Like a puppet master. Their interaction with the Herningster ambassador really gives you a taste of Elias's new approach to ruling.
It's a darker, more sinister Osten Ard than anyone's used to. Definitely a departure from King John's reign.
For sure. While all this is going on, Simon makes a daring escape from the Hayholt.
Clutching a mysterious artifact.
We don't know what it is yet, but it feels important, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Feels like it's going to play a crucial role in, well, everything.
I think so too. And while Simon's fleeing, there's this sense of unease spreading across Osten Ard, like a shadow falling over the kingdom.
Travelers are sharing tales of dark forces stirring.
Yeah, and even Towser, the jester, dares to mock Elias in his songs.
A bold move, considering Elias's volatile nature.
That scene with Towser and Elias talk about tension. It's clear Elias is not a man to be trifled with, but Towser's song hints at something else too.
That's right. It suggests Elias is being influenced by Prierates, controlled even.
Okay, so we've got a corrupt king, a manipulative priest, and whispers of dark forces. And right in the middle of this is Simon, running for his life with this mysterious artifact.
His journey takes him deep into the heart of Osten Ard, and that's where he has his first encounter with, well, something truly extraordinary.
The Scythe.
You got it. Ancient, powerful beings shrouded in mystery. They're like something out of a legend.
I bet meeting them was a bit of a shock for Simon.
To say the least, the woodsman's reaction to the Thitha speaks volumes about how humans view them. It's fear, mostly, and suspicion.
Fear and suspicion, huh? So they're not exactly welcomed with open arms.
Not exactly. Their appearance is both beautiful and unsettling. Humans struggle to understand them.
I can see that. But Simon, despite being scared, rescues one of the Scythe.
It's a pivotal moment. It reveals Simon's compassion, his courage. Even in the face of the unknown, he chooses to help.
And then there's Binabek, the troll who comes into the picture.
Ah, Binabek. He adds a touch of humor to the story. And a unique skill set, let me tell you.
An unlikely duo, for sure.
Their partnership is unexpected, but it feels destined, Like fate brought them together.
I like that. So they're headed to Naglimund, this stronghold where Prince Josua is rumored to be. It sounds like their journey is about to get even more interesting.
You could say that. As they travel, Simon's encounters become increasingly strange and, well, mystical.
Like what? Give us a teaser.
He encounters a witch woman named Jeloe. The events surrounding her cottage are shrouded in mystery. You're left wondering, what secrets does she hold? What role does she play in all of this?
Ooh, I'm intrigued. And then there's the vision Simon has in the well chamber. Korea?
Don't forget the well chamber. 3 legendary swords, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Their names alone evoke a sense of, well, destiny.
Yeah, it's like they hold the key to Osten Ard's future.
Like they're going to decide the fate of the entire kingdom. Powerful stuff.
It is. And to think, this all started with a simple kitchen boy. Who would guessed?
That's the beauty of Osten Ard, I suppose. Anyone can be swept up in Destiny's tide.
Anyone could be a hero, huh? I like that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right. We've got a lot more story to uncover.
We do. And listeners, you're in for a treat. Stay tuned, because we're just getting started with our deep dive into the Dragonbone Chair.
These swords, memory, sorrow, and thorn, right? They're like echoes of Osten Ard's past, each one forged with a specific purpose. And while Simon's trying to figure out these visions of these swords, a key figure shows up at Naglimund, and he really brings the past to life.
That's Dordogi.
That's the one. He's not just some storyteller. It's like he's a missing piece of the puzzle falling into place. And all his knowledge about the swords and Osten Ard's history, especially about the Storm King in Iluki.
Yeah, Iluki the Storm King adds a whole new layer to the story, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how Jarnoga ties the artifact Simon's carrying to the Storm King, to this ancient evil.
Yep.
Makes you think that Simon might be the key to either unleashing or defeating this massive power.
It's a huge responsibility for anyone, really, let alone a kitchen boy.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And remember when Jarnoga mentions that Inuluki was once a Scythi prince?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Talk about a tragic twist. As a whole layer of betrayal to the story, you realize the conflict it's way more than just a simple good versus evil thing.
Right. It reminds you that history is rarely black and white. There are all these shades of gray, you know, all these conflicting motives and old grudges. Even the Scythi, who seem so otherworldly, they're not immune to ambition.
Or the lust for power, right? It makes you question everything you thought you knew about them.
Exactly.
So we've got the Scythi, the Storm King, this artifact, these swords, and let's not forget, back at the Hayhold, Elias's rule is getting more and more oppressive.
Things are getting pretty bad, yeah. And those sources, they hint at a connection between Elias and the Norns.
The Norns, those terrifying creatures that seem to embody the darkness threatening Osten Ard. It's like Elias is a puppet and Pyretes is the one pulling the strings.
A chilling image, for sure. And the Norns are more than just, monsters. They represent this primal force, you know, ancient and destructive. And their alliance with Elias, well, it just shows how desperate he is.
He'll do anything to get what he wants, even embrace dark magic.
Sounds about right. And their presence in the story just adds to that sense of dread, that feeling that something terrible is about to happen.
Oh, for sure. It's like a storm brewing. You can almost feel the first drops of rain.
Yeah. And meanwhile, over at Naglimund, things take a really dark turn.
Betrayal, right.
A devastating attack. Simon and Binabik are just fighting to survive.
They have to escape.
It's a turning point. You know, they go from running from danger to actively looking for a way to fight back.
They're not just reacting anymore. They're taking charge.
Exactly.
And their path leads them to the Uden Tree.
Ah, yes, the Uden Tree. Shrouded in myth and legend, it's a place of ancient power. Feels like a beacon of hope in the middle of all this darkness.
Yeah. A reminder that that the Scythi are still a presence in Osten Ard, even after all these years.
It's more than just a landmark, you know. The Uden Tree represents Osten Ard's deep connection to the Scythi, to a time when magic and nature were intertwined.
And both humans and the Scythi seem to want to control that power, right? Makes it a key point in the conflict.
Definitely.
So they reach the Uden Tree, and they have a pretty intense encounter there.
They run into Injun Jegger, the relentless hunter.
He's been on their trail for ages.
Oh, yeah. But he's not alone. He brings along a Scythi prince, Jiriki.
Jiriki.
Yeah.
And his arrival changes everything, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Jiriki embodies that complex relationship between humans and the Scythi. You can feel the weight of history in his words, you know. All those past grievances, the resentment towards humanity.
There's a lot of pain and anger there, especially when he talks about the Rimmersmen and their betrayal centuries ago. It's a stark reminder that actions have consequences, even across generations.
It's hard to hear sometimes.
Yeah, it is. But despite all that bitterness, Jiriki ends up getting drawn into the conflict.
It's almost like those old grudges can be put aside, you know, when faced with a greater threat, a common enemy.
And the fate of Osten Ard is definitely hanging in the balance. Makes you realize that even ancient enemies might have to find a way to work together to save the world.
The question is, can they?
Right. And while this is all happening at the Uden Tree, Simon's brother Josua, he's trying to rally support against Elias, but it feels like a losing battle, doesn't it?
It does. Elias controls the army, the resources. It's David versus Goliath, for sure.
It's a classic underdog story, but with this sense of urgency, this feeling that that time is running out, you can't help but root for Josua, hoping he can somehow overcome the odds.
It's a tough situation. His legitimacy is being questioned. He doesn't have the resources he needs. And he's facing a brother who's completely consumed by ambition, fueled by dark magic.
It's more than just about defeating Elias, though, isn't it? It's about restoring faith in Osten Ard in the future.
It's about proving that hope can win, even when things seem impossible. Whether Joshua succeeds or fails, his actions will have a huge impact on the future of Osten Ard for generations to come.
It's all connected, isn't it? Simon's quest for the swords, Josua's fight for the throne. It's like their paths are woven together.
Like threads in a tapestry.
Hmm.
And the question is, will they be enough to save Osten Ard from the darkness?
Last we left off, Simon, Benabik, and Jariki were at the Uden tree, and meanwhile things weren't looking so good back at Naglimund.
No, no, not at all. The siege of Naglimund is it's brutal. Elias just unleashes everything he's got on the stronghold.
Yeah, the Norns, those diggers, they just tear through everything. It's heartbreaking, to see the defenders trying to hold them back, but
It's a losing battle.
it is. And then you find out Elias has sorrow.
Oh, yeah. Sorrow. It's not just about power anymore, is it? It's like Elias is being corrupted by the sword itself.
Twisted by it, yeah. Like he's not even in control anymore.
The sword grants power, but at a terrible price.
It's a cautionary tale, isn't it? About ambition and how power can corrupt even the best of intentions.
For sure.
But there's still hope, right? Back at the Uden tree, Simon starts to understand his role in all of this.
He's guided by his dreams and that artifact he's carrying. He's starting to embrace his destiny.
Even though it's, well, a pretty crazy destiny for a kitchen boy, right?
You could say that. But that's what makes him so compelling, isn't it? He's the unlikely hero, the one nobody expects. And yet here he is at the center of it all.
And he's not alone. Benabik is right there with him, always loyal.
Oh yeah, their friendship is one of the best parts of the story. So genuine, and even Jaruki, despite everything, chooses to fight alongside Simon.
It shows you that even the oldest grudges can be set aside,
Yeah.
right? When there's a bigger threat to deal with.
It does. It's like the fate of Osten Ard is more important than anything else, and that brings them all together.
It gives you hope, to see them working together, even though they're so different. But what about Josua? Do we know what happened to him?
The sources don't really say what happens to him right after Naglimund falls, but his story isn't over. Even though his rebellion failed, it inspired people. It showed them that resistance is possible.
Even in the face of, well, overwhelming odds.
Exactly.
So we've got Simon setting out to find the other swords, Memory and Thorn, and we know he's going to face Inaluki eventually.
Mm.
But Inaluki's power, it seems almost limitless.
It's frightening. And we don't even know what his true goal is, what he ultimately wants.
Yeah, there are a lot of unanswered questions, but that's part of what makes the story so compelling, isn't it? You want to keep reading to find out what happens.
You do. And that's just the first book, too. There's so much more to come in the rest of the series.
It's an incredible journey for both Simon and the reader. And Tad Williams really brings this world to life, the history, the magic, the characters. It's all so vivid.
It's a story that sticks with you. It makes you think about the nature of good and evil, about the dangers of power and the importance of hope.
And it leaves you with some pretty big questions, too. What would you do if you were Simon? Would you have the courage to face the Storm King, knowing that everything was at stake?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is. So, listeners, we encourage you to pick up the Dragonbone Chair and experience this incredible story for yourselves. And until next time, keep exploring those worlds, keep asking those questions, and keep the conversation going.